Have you ever stopped and really asked yourself, what makes a person become more valuable with age? Not in a loud or flashy way, not because of their money, achievements, or titles, but in that quiet, magnetic way, where their presence alone brings peace, dignity, and unshakable worth. It's not luck, it's not about being born into privilege, and it's definitely not about clinging to youth. As we grow older, something profound happens. Life either wears us down, or it reveals our essence. And for those who choose to nurture certain inner qualities, age becomes a gift, not a burden. These individuals don't fade into the background. They rise, not with noise, but with wisdom. They become irreplaceable. The kind of people you want near, simply because their energy feels different, grounding, calming, real. In this video, we're going to uncover 6 deeply powerful qualities that, when developed intentionally, make you not just liked, but deeply cherished. These traits don't rely on looks or material possessions. They are about your mindset, your presence, and your inner strength. Best of all, these qualities can be nurtured at any age, whether you're 45 or 85. It's never too late to become the kind of person others seek, not for what you can give, but for who you are. Stay with me until the very end, because the last quality we'll explore is the most often overlooked, yet the most life-changing. And if you've ever felt like you're becoming invisible with time, like your voice or presence is slowly fading, this message is especially for you. Let's begin. 1. The power of calm that comforts without words. One of the most rare and priceless traits someone can develop in later life is the ability to remain calm. Not the kind of calm that avoids problems, but the kind that brings clarity in chaos. This calm becomes a sanctuary, a steady light when others feel lost. It's not about pretending everything's okay. It's about having lived enough, endured enough, to know what really matters and what doesn't. You've probably met someone like this. Take Harold, a 74-year-old retired firefighter. When Harold walks into a room, the energy shifts. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't try to control the conversation. He just listens, deeply. He responds slowly, thoughtfully, and somehow, without saying much, he makes everyone feel safer. His calm isn't weakness. It's strength, refined by years of pain, loss, love, and learning. He knows when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to walk away. He doesn't waste time on petty arguments. He doesn't need to win battles that don't matter. He chooses peace, not because he's afraid of conflict, but because he understands the cost of carrying it. People like Harold are the anchors in the storm. His wife, even after decades of marriage, still leans into his presence when life feels heavy. His grandchildren open up to him, not because he fixes everything, but because they feel seen and heard. That's real power. The truth is, when you cultivate calmness, you become someone others trust, someone they want to be near. Not just during the good times, but especially during the hard ones. And the surprising part? That peace you give to others, it also heals you. You stress less, you sleep better, you connect deeper, and you begin to focus not on everything that's wrong, but on everything that's still right. 2. A curiosity that refuses to age. If calmness is the soul's anchor, curiosity is its wings. One of the biggest mistakes people make as they grow older is believing that newness is only for the young. But the most radiant older adults, the ones who remain mentally sharp, emotionally vibrant, and spiritually alive, are those who never stop asking questions. They read, they explore, they talk to people half their age and actually listen. They aren't threatened by change, they're invigorated by it. Take Evelyn, a 76-year-old former teacher. She could have easily settled into the same old conversations, the same TV shows, the same comfort zone. But instead, she chooses to stay mentally wide open. She reads books outside her usual genre. She watches documentaries about topics she once knew nothing about. She learns new technology, not because she has to, but because she's curious. She speaks with young people not to correct them, but to understand them, and people love being around her. Not just because she's wise, but because she's alive, present, growing, still reaching. Curiosity doesn't just make you smarter, it makes you magnetic. Nobody wants to spend hours with someone who sees the world only through a rearview mirror. But someone who still wonders, who still dreams, that person brings light to every room they enter. Here's the truth. People who stop growing start shrinking, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. But people who stay curious stay young, no matter how many birthdays pass. And here's the secret. Curiosity isn't something you lose. It's something you stop feeding. The good news? You can choose to rekindle it today. 3. The courage to say no without apologizing. There's something else that makes someone deeply respected as they age, and it's not softness, it's strength. The strength to say, "This is my boundary." The strength to protect your peace, your time, and your emotional energy without guilt. This isn't about being rude, it's about knowing that your well-being matters just as much as anyone else's. For years, Robert, a 73-year-old retired mechanic, was the kind of man who said yes to everything. Need help moving? He'd show up even if his back was screaming. Someone needs to vent for hours. He'd listen, even if it left him emotionally drained. Someone crosses the line? He'd stay quiet just to keep the peace, but over time, that constant giving left him depleted. Until one day, he decided to make a change. Not a dramatic one, just a shift. A decision to finally value himself. Now, Robert sets boundaries, not harshly, but clearly. He helps when it's from the heart, not from obligation. He listens when he has space, not when it's a burden. He chooses company that uplifts, not drains. And most importantly, he no longer apologizes for protecting his peace. And guess what happened? People didn't push him away. They respected him more. Because confidence, especially quiet confidence, is magnetic. When you stand for yourself, you teach others how to treat you. When you set limits, you invite better relationships into your life. And when you say no without guilt, you say yes to the life you actually deserve. This kind of strength doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention, but it earns it in the most powerful way. When you set boundaries, something powerful happens. People who truly care about you will begin to honor your space. And perhaps even more importantly, you start to honor yourself. You no longer feel drained by constant obligations. You stop being resentful from always giving and rarely receiving. Instead, you start to feel whole, calm, centered, and deeply respected. That's the quiet power of boundaries. And it leads us into the next trait, 4. A presence that feels like home. One of the most beautiful things a person can offer in their later years is this: the ability to make others feel completely at ease. It's not about being the center of attention or filling silence with noise. It's about offering something far more rare, a sense of emotional safety. This kind of presence can't be faked. It comes from years of learning, listening, and loving. Think of someone like Joan, a 75-year-old former nurse. She doesn't talk over people. She doesn't try to impress. But when she walks into a room, something shifts. People soften, they relax, because Joan radiates something we all long for: gentle warmth and quiet understanding. When she speaks, it's with calm sincerity. When she listens, it's with her whole heart. She doesn't interrupt, she doesn't judge, She simply allows others to be fully themselves in her presence, and that is unforgettable. This kind of emotional warmth is not loud, it doesn't demand anything, but it leaves a mark. People remember how they felt around you, long after they've forgotten your words. They remember the softness in your eyes, the comfort in your smile, the way you made them feel seen and heard, without ever trying to steal the spotlight. And the most beautiful part? This kind of presence only grows stronger with age. It's not tied to looks, youth, or charisma. It comes from a deep well of wisdom, kindness, and grace. So, if you've ever met someone who brought you peace just by being there, you've met someone quietly more precious than gold, and if you cultivate this in yourself, you'll become that person for others. 5. The gift of finding joy in simplicity. Another quiet superpower of deeply fulfilled people after 65 is this: they learn how to find happiness in the little things. They stop waiting for big events to feel alive. They find magic in the ordinary: a simple meal, a warm breeze, the sound of laughter, a walk under the sun. These become sacred moments, not because they're rare, but because they're noticed. George, an 80-year-old retired carpenter, is a perfect example. He doesn't have a flashy life, but he is rich in peace. He doesn't waste time longing for things he doesn't have. He wakes up each day grateful for what he does have. When he eats, he savors it. When he walks, he watches the way the trees move. When he speaks to his friends, he laughs fully and listens deeply. And people love being around him, not because he's exciting, but because he's content. That kind of grounded joy is magnetic. It's rare. Too many people spend their later years comparing, regretting, and wishing. But those who learn to live in the moment, who find joy in simplicity, are the ones who truly live. They don't complain about what they can't control. They don't chase things that don't matter. They choose joy, over and over, through quiet appreciation. And here's the truth: happiness doesn't come from what's around you. It comes from how you see what's around you. And when you train your heart to see the beauty in the small things, you realize nothing is small. 6. An unshakable self-respect. There is something quietly breathtaking about a person who respects themselves, a person who knows their worth, not because others tell them, but because they've lived long enough to believe it for themselves. They don't seek approval, they don't shrink to be liked, and they don't apologize for who they are. This is the kind of self-respect that can't be broken. Take Louise, a 78-year-old retired librarian. For much of her life, she put everyone else first. She said yes when she meant no. She made herself small so others could shine. But one day, she stopped. Not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of clarity. She realized her peace mattered too. Her time had value. Her presence was a gift, and it didn't need to be earned. She began saying no without guilt. She stopped seeking validation. And instead of losing people, she gained something deeper: respect. Because when you respect yourself, others follow your lead. This isn't about arrogance. It's about quiet dignity, about knowing your story has value, that your opinions count, that your needs matter. And most importantly, it's about no longer tying your worth to anyone else's approval. People can feel when someone respects themselves. It's in the way they walk, speak, and navigate life. They don't chase, they don't beg, they don't tolerate disrespect. They don't need to prove anything, they already know. Unfortunately, many people lose that sense of self as they age. They begin to doubt their importance. They shrink themselves. But here's the truth: age should strengthen your self-respect, not weaken it. Because with age comes truth. And the truth is, you were always worthy. You just had to grow into believing it. Now, as we bring this journey to a close, take a breath. and reflect. These 6 traits, calmness, curiosity, boundaries, warmth, simplicity, and self-respect, they are not tied to age, wealth, or looks. They are tied to how you live, how you treat others, and how deeply you honor yourself. The people who become quietly more precious than gold don't shout for attention. They don't need to prove themselves. They simply embody qualities that time cannot erase. And these qualities, they don't just happen. They are chosen, nurtured, and protected day by day. So if you recognized even a part of yourself in these 6 traits, or if you feel inspired to start growing them within, know this, you're already on the path. Because becoming a person of quiet strength and deep presence is not about doing more, it's about being more. And when you live like that, everything else falls into place. Respect, connection, meaning. I'd love to know, which one of these 6 resonated with you most? Is there one you already practice, or one you feel ready to begin nurturing today? Let me know in the comments. I read every message, and your insight might just inspire someone else on their journey too. If you found this video meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share. It helps me continue creating content that uplifts, encourages, and supports you. Thank you for being here. I look forward to growing with you in the next one.